I got a ton of emails and DMs all throughout 2022 asking me about what someone can do to help build a little bit more muscle. And over the course of the year, I kept seeing people make the same 3 big mistakes that were holding them back, and I'm gonna be discussing them in this video. And my name is Matt Schifferly here for the Red Delta Project, where we take a fundamental approach to fitness, which means that your results don't depend on the diet you follow or the workout program you do, but rather how well you align yourself with the principles of mother and human nature. And when it comes to building muscle, the biggest thing that creates that stimulus in your workouts to build the muscle is progressively working the muscle harder over time. In other words, in your workouts, your objective is to take that muscle, whatever you're trying to work, and work it with both intensity and volume. We're essentially trying to just smoke it out so it's really working to a high level of work capacity. And a lot of the research refreshingly suggests that there's no real narrow one specific way that's best for everybody on how you go about doing that. You could do it with low volume, high volume, different tools, different exercise methods. You can do this a lot of different ways. And one of the biggest mistakes that people often make is thinking this is the one correct or best or optimal exercise or approach I should be using. And instead they're ignoring a lot of the feedback that their body's giving them that's often telling them this isn't really the best thing you should be doing, but they keep forcing themselves into that program even though it's not in their best interest. So there's a couple ways this is happening. The first of which is they're using exercises that don't really effectively work the muscle that they're trying to work, and they're just kind of going along with whatever the program suggests. Let's take, for example, like you're trying to work your chest and you've got some sort of a chest pressing exercise, machine, free weights, whatever. And after a few hard sets and I came up and I asked you, I was like, so you really feel that in the chest? And you'd be like, sure, I guess, yeah, maybe it's working, I suppose. But then on the off chance, you decide to do some ring push-ups or using chest flies or something. And after a couple hard sets of that, your chest is just ready to explode. You're like, oh my gosh, it's just on fire. And you're sore afterwards for a couple of days. Not that you always have to be sore, but it's usually a good sign that you really hit the muscle. And so you think, okay, that chest fly machine was really effective, but these experts are saying that the barbell bench press is the best ever, so they focus more on the chest press and less on the flies to their own detriment. Now, I'm not saying that you should just totally throw away like push-ups and dips and do the chest fly once in a while, but if you're doing an exercise and you really feel it in the muscle, that's giving you the feedback that that's the exercise you should probably be focusing on in the next several weeks to several months in developing that muscle. And of course, granted, there's a lot of other variables that influence how much a muscle is engaged, like your technique, of course, and the mind-muscle connection, which yes, it is a very real thing, and yes, you should always be working to improve it. That's why overcoming isometrics is in grind-style calisthenics. But nonetheless, if you feel like one exercise is really harnessing a lot more tension in the muscle, that's the direction you should be going in. The second biggest mistake I often see people making is they're doing the whole volume and intensity recovery balance all completely wrong. A lot of the advice out there about what's best for building muscle has nothing to do with what's actually effective. It's just kind of an estimated guess on how much work you should be doing. But like anything in life, your success does not depend on how much work you do. It depends on how well you achieve the fundamental objectives of your goal. And when you identify what that is, then you adjust however much amount of work you're doing to best make that happen. So the biggest cases where this is going awry is when people have too much volume or they're working their muscle too hard and they're not giving themselves enough recovery afterwards. Because remember, yes, we do want to kind of smoke out the muscles in our workouts, but this only works if you have progressive work over time. But it goes the other way too, where people will be like, okay, I just did this workout, maybe it was low volume or whatever, and they're like, I've got to rest a week according to this program, but after 3 days, they're like, I am ready to rock and roll, but I've got to wait because the program tells me to. Again, they're not listening to the feedback that they're getting from their body on what's actually best. Use whatever you feel is best for you. If you're ready to go after 2 days, then work it again after 2 days or even the next day. But if you feel you need more recovery for some muscles, then give yourself more recovery so that way you can put as much effort and intensity into the next workout as possible. And then the third biggest mistake that I came across time and time again from people who are seeking advice from me on my emails and my Instagram and stuff were people who were basing their dietary approach on too much restriction. The bulk of dietary advice out there in our fitness culture is not suitable for building bigger, stronger bodies. It's all about helping people lose weight. And we, in our fitness culture, often associate weight loss or being as lean as possible with good health. And I'm not saying that you've got to eat like a pig in order to build muscle, because when you're really packing on fat pounds, that's definitely a sign you're eating too much, regardless of whether or not you're in a gaining phase or whatever. But you don't want to be inadvertently limiting yourself way too much just in the name of some dogmatic diet. You want to have an approach to your diet where it's all about feeding your body, satisfying your appetites, satisfying your hunger and your cravings as much as possible. Basing your dietary approaches on, I don't eat this, I don't eat this, I don't eat that, and I do all this intermittent fasting and stuff, you're basically putting yourself in a very tight, closed sphere that gives you very limited range for your body to grow, because you're just simply starving it and not feeding it adequately enough. Just starting off with a simple basic 3 square meals a day, getting a good amount of protein at each meal is a good place to start. And then if you're wondering, maybe I should eat maybe a little bit more, then you can add to those meals or filter in some snacks in addition to that and see where that takes you. And as always, I want to hear from you. What are some of the biggest mistakes you made when it came to slowing down your ability to develop the muscle and strength you want? Check out these videos for some of my favorite muscle building workouts with calisthenics as well. Thank you so much for watching. Be fit and live free.